Hello everyone, in this video we're going to review AP Precalculus topic 3.4 to 3.7 Sinusoidal functions, graphs and modeling. Question 27. The figure shows the graph of a sinusoidal function f. Which of the following values is the period of the function f? Alright, so we look at the graph right here. We need to look at the midline, right? Then we're going to observe that the period is the length within one cycle, right? So you need to find where's the cycle start and where's the cycle end, right? So the cycle starts right here and end right here. And then the pattern keeps repeating, right? So this graph has two cycles, right? So the distance from here to here is the period, which is pi, right? So the answer must be C. Now let's move on to question number 28. The figure shows the graph of the sinusoidal function g. What is the amplitude of the function g? Alright, so first you need to draw the midline. The midline is 1, right? D equals 1. So the amplitude is the distance from the midline to the maximum. So it could be 3 subtract 1, it could be 2, right? So the answer must be B. Or you can apply the formula amplitude equals maximum subtract minimum divided by 2. Alright, maximum is could be 3. Subtract minimum is going to be -1 divided by 2. So the answer is 2. Now let's move on to question number 29. The figure shows the graph of a trigonometric function f. Which of the following could be an expression for f of s? Now observe that the function starts from the midline, right? So then this is the sine function, right? Now the sine function is going to be like this. Alright, so it goes from the midline up to the maximum, go back to the midline, go down to the minimum and back up to the midline. Alright, now you look at this one right here, you see that the function starts from the midline, go down to the minimum. So there is a reflection, which means there is a negative sign in front of the function sine, right? So you need to eliminate A, right? We need to find the period, right? So the period is pi, right? It could be from here to here. So we have the formula, the period equals 2 pi over B, right? But we have the period is pi, so we need to solve for B, right? So B equals 2 pi over pi, right? So it could be 2. So B equals 2, we need to eliminate this one because B equals 1. This one B equals 2, this one B equals 1/2, so this is wrong, right? So the answer must be C. Now let's move on to question 30. The graph of the sinusoidal function g is shown in the figure above. The function g can be written as g of theta equals a sine theta plus d. What are the values of the constants a and d, right? A, which means amplitude, right? So we have a equals maximum subtract minimum divided by 2, right? Maximum is going to be 0, right? The highest point right here. Minimum is the lowest point right here, which is -4, right? So you have 0 minus -4 divided by 2. So it could be 2, right? So you need to eliminate A and B. Now the midline D equals mass plus min divided by 2, right? So it could be 0 plus -4 divided by 2. So it could be -2. So the answer must be C. Now question 31, similar to question 30. And we need to solve for A and B, right? Now the amplitude is going to be maximum subtract minimum divided by 2, right? So maximum is going to be 4, minimum is going to be negative 8, right? So 4 subtract negative 8 divided by 2. Alright, so it's going to be 6, right? So the answer B and D incorrect, right? Now you need to solve for B. So you need to find the period first, right? Because B equals 2 pi divided by period, right? Now the period is the distance from here to here, right? So it could be pi, right? So 2 pi divided by pi, it could be 2. So the answer must be C. Now let's move on to question number 32. We need to find the period and amplitude of the function f, right? So the period is going to be from here to here, right? It's going to be pi over 2, right? So you need to eliminate A and B. Now the amplitude is maximum subtract minimum divided by 2, right? Maximum right here is 3, minimum is negative 1, right? So 3 minus negative 1 divided by 2 is going to be 2, right? So the answer must be D. Now question number 33, we need to find amplitude and the midline, right? So amplitude is going to be maximum subtract minimum divided by 2, right? So maximum is 6, minimum is negative 2, and it's going to be 6 subtract negative 2 divided by 2. It's going to be 4, right? So you need to eliminate A, B, and D. The answer must be C, right? Now you need to verify D, right? So D equals maximum plus minimum divided by 2. So which means 6 plus negative 2 divided by 2. It's going to be 2, right? Now question 34, we need to solve for period and amplitude, right? The period is the distance between two hills, or two maximum, right? So it could be from here to here. Alright, so it could be 2 subtract negative 2, which means 4, right? So I need to eliminate A and B. Now I need to find amplitude. Amplitude is maximum, which means 3. Subtract minimum, which means negative 1 divided by 2, right? So 3 subtract negative 1 divided by 2 is going to be 2. So the answer must be C. Now let's move on to question number 35. Given the graph, we need to find the corresponding equation for this graph. Alright, so we know that the general form of the trigonometric function is going to be A cosine of B times S minus C plus D, right? Or A sine of B S minus C plus D, where A is an amplitude or vertical dilation, B is the horizontal dilation, C is the phase shift, and D is the vertical shift, right? Now look at this one right here. We need to find the midline first, right? Midline equals maximum and minimum divided by 2, right? Now maximum is 3, minimum is negative 1, right? So if you add them up, divide by 2, it's going to be 1, right? So the midline is 1. Alright, now you look at the answer over here, we always have 1, right? Now we need to find the amplitude. The amplitude is maximum subtract minimum divided by 2, or the distance from the midline to the maximum, right? Amplitude is 2, right? So look at this one, we see 2, 2, this one is 2. Now keep in mind, if you have the negative sign here, which means there could be a reflection, right? This one 2. Alright. Now next one, you need to find B. B equals 2 pi divided by period. Period is the distance between two hills, right? So it could be pi right here, right? So it could be 2 pi divided by pi. It could be 2, right? So this one is pi. This one is 2. This one is 2. This one is 2. So we need to eliminate a, right? Now, if you start from here, there is a reflection because the cosine function starts from the maximum, right? Back down to the midline, go down to the minimum, back up to the midline, and go up to the maximum, right? And also have the phase shift to the right, pi over 2. So this one is right? Because you subtract pi over 2, which means shift to the right, pi over 2. But there is no subtraction sign right here. So this one may be wrong. Now, this one right here, you have the negative side, right? But the phase shift is pi, which is wrong because the phase shift is pi over 2, right? So answer choice C is wrong. Now, answer choice D, there is negative side right here, which is right? There is a phase shift 3 pi over 2, yes. If we start from here, right? Which means we shift to the right 3 pi over 2, right? And we start from the minimum, which means the negative side should be in front of the amplitude, right? This makes the right? Or we can use this way. We can pick the point 0, 3, right? We substitute into B, C, and D to see if both sides equals. That is the answer, right? So I'm going to pick the point 0, 3, which means S equals 0, right? And f of 0 must be 3, right? Now, this is f of 0, right? So I have f of 0 equals 2 cosine of 2 times 0 minus pi over 2 plus 1, right? Now, 0 minus pi over 2 equals negative pi over 2 times 2, it could be negative pi, right? Cosine function is even, so it turns out to be 2 cosine of pi, right? Because cosine of negative pi equals cosine of pi, right? Plus 1. Now cosine of pi equals negative 1, right? So it could be negative 2 plus 1. It could be negative 1, which is not equal to 3, right? Because we need 3. So this is the wrong answer. Now, if you keep checking this one, it's going to be negative 2 cosine of 2 times 0 minus pi plus 1, right? Again, this one is negative 2 cosine of negative 2 pi, right? Plus 1. So it could be negative 2 cosine of 2 pi, right? Because the cosine function is even, right? So plus 1. Now cosine of 2 pi equals 1, right? So the answer is negative 1, right? Which is not correct, right? Now, if you substitute into the last one, we will see it. Negative 2 cosine of 2 times 0 minus 3 pi over 2 plus 1, right? So it could be negative 2 cosine of 2 times negative 3 pi over 2, right? Plus 1. Now it could be negative 2 cosine of negative 3 pi, right? Plus 1. Now cosine of negative 3 pi equals cosine of 3 pi, right? So it could be negative 2 cosine of 3 pi plus 1, right? Now cosine of 3 pi can be written as negative 2 cosine of pi plus 2 pi, right? Plus 1, right? I just ignore the period right here, right? So it could be negative 2 cosine of pi plus 1. Cosine of pi equals negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 2 equals 2. 2 plus 1 equals 3, which is this guy right here. So the answer must be D. Now let's move on to question number 36. Question 36 similar to question 35. The only thing different right here, this is going to be sine function. Now keep in mind the sine function starts from the midline, so it can be like this, right? Now if there is a reflection, it can be like this, right? So we look at this one, we need to find the period first, right? Now the period should be from here to here, right? So it can be pi over 2, right? Now we have the period is pi over 2. Now we need to solve for b. b equals 2 pi divided by pi over 2. Now to simplify this one, you look at the bottom right here. The denominator is 2. I need to multiply the top and bottom by 2, right? So it turns out to be 4 pi over this one cancel out pi, right? So it could be 4, right? So b equals 4. Look at this one, b equals 2, so this one wrong. b equals 4, good. This one good, this one good. Okay. Next one, we need to find the midline, right? The midline is going to be maximum at minimum divided by 2, right? Maximum is going to be 10. Minimum is going to be negative 20, right? So 10 minus 20 divided by 2 is going to be negative 5, right? So the midline is going to be right here. Now look at this one, we see that they all have the midline negative 5, right? Which is good. Now we need to determine the phase shift, right? Depending on the phase shift, we have negative side in front of amplitude or not, right? So look at this one. If we pick the phase shift pi over 4, right? So which means we want the function start right here, right? So it's go down to the minimum first, right? So if it go down to the minimum, it should have the negative side in front of amplitude because this is a reflection, right? Look at the graph right here, right? So negative side right here, which is good, right? So the answer could be B, right? Now we check this one right here. If we start the function from pi over 2, so pi over 2 right here, and then we go up to the maximum, right? If we go up to the maximum, there is no negative side in front of amplitude, but this guy has the negative side, so this is wrong, right? Now, if we start the function from 3 pi over 4, which means we start from here, it's go down to the minimum first, right? So there is a reflection, right? If there is a reflection, it should have the negative side in front of 15, right? But there is no negative side here, so it makes answer choice D wrong. So the answer must be B. Now, question number 37, very simple. Alright, I'm gonna leave this one for you to practice. The answer is B. Now, let's move on to question 38. The sinusoidal function h has a minimum at the point 2 pi negative 1. The first maximum after reaching this minimum value occurs at the point 5 pi 7. What are the values of the period and amplitude of the function h, right? Go ahead, sketch the graph, right? So the function has the minimum, right? So we just start right here, go down to the minimum, right? Back up to the midline, right? The first maximum after reaching this minimum, right? So the first maximum should be right here, right? So we just draw one cycle to see what happens, right? Now, this is the minimum. This is the maximum, right? We know that the period is the distance from here to here, right? Now, because you have the maximum value and the minimum values, right? So the period is twice the distance between maximum and minimum, right? So this one is half of the period, right? Because from here to here is the period, so keep that in mind. Alright, Now, in order to find the period, we need to look at the s value of the coordinate point of the maximum and minimum, right? This is the first s, s1, this is s2, right? So, the minimum right here, s should be 2 pi. The maximum s equal 5 pi, right? S2 subtract S1, right? So you have 5 pi subtract 2 pi, right? This one is half of the period, right? Right? So P equals 6 pi, right? Now you need to eliminate C and D. Now you need to find the amplitude, right? The amplitude is maximum subtract minimum divided by 2. Now you need to look at the y value only, so be careful. The y value of the maximum is 7 right here. So 7 subtract y value of the minimum is -1, right? -1 divided by 2. So it's going to be 4, right? So the answer must be A. Now question 39 similar to question 38. I'm going to leave this one for you to practice. The answer must be C. Now question 40. Which of the following best describe the behavior of the function g over the interval 0 to pi over 2, right? So 0 to pi over 2, which means this guy right here, right? Alright, so the interval should be this guy right here. Alright, so over this interval, the function g is decreasing, right? Because it's going down, right? So we need to eliminate A and B. Now we need to know if the function decreasing at an increasing rate or decreasing rate, right? Now since the function is concave up, so the rate of change is increasing, right? So the function is decreasing at an increasing rate. The answer must be C. Now, question 41. Over the interval pi over 2 to pi. Pi over 2 to pi is going to be from here to here, right? In order to know if the function is positive or negative, look at the graph. If it's above the x-axis, it's going to be positive. If it's below the x-axis, it could be negative. Now look at the yellow interval right here. It's going to be below the axis, so it can be negative. So you need to eliminate A and B. Now, to know if the function increasing or decreasing, you need to draw the tangent line, right? The tangent line is going up this way. The rate of change is positive. If the rate of change is positive, the function is increasing. So the answer must be C. Now let's move on to question 42. Which of the following best describe how the rate of change of the function g is changing over the interval pi to 3 pi over 2, alright? Now, if the rate of change is changing, which means it's increasing or decreasing, alright? So, over the interval pi to 3 pi over 2, it's going to be from here to here. Over these intervals, the rate of change is decreasing because the function is concave down, alright? So, the answer must be D, right? The rate of change is decreasing because the function is concave down over this interval, right? Now, direction for number 44, 47. Use the graph of the sinusoidal function h below. Question 44. On the interval 0 to pi over 2, which of the following is true about the function h? Now, the function h is positive and increasing. 0 to pi over 2 is going to be this guy right here, right? because the function above the axis, so it can be positive, right? So you need to eliminate C and D. The function is decreasing because it's going down, right? Which means the rate of change of the tangent line is negative, right? So it can be decreasing. The answer must be B. Question 45. On the interval pi over 2 to pi, which of the following is true about the function h, right? Pi over 2 to pi, which means this guy right here. The function is negative, right? Because it's below the x-axis, right? So we need to eliminate A and B, right? Now, the function is decreasing because it's going down, right? The rate of change of the tangent line is negative, right? Using the Christmas tree trick. So the answer must be D. Now, question 46. Over the interval pi to 3 pi over 2. The function still negative, right? Because it's below the axis and it's increasing, right? Because the rate of change of the tangent line is positive, right? So it's going to be negative and increasing. The answer must be C. Now the last one, 3 pi over 2 to 2 pi. Alright, so it's going to be from here to here. The function above the axis, so it can be positive, right? And if you draw the tangent line is going up, the rate of change is positive. The function is increasing, right? So positive and increasing. The answer must be A. Now let's move on to question 48 to 51. Question 48 to 51 is going to be similar to the one we just did, right? Now I just leave the answer for you and I leave this question for you to practice. Alright, question 48, the answer is D. Question 49, the answer is A. Question 50, the answer is A. Question 51, the answer is D. Now let's move on to question 52. Alright, given the graph, we need to write the sinusoidal function for this graph, right? First, we need to find the amplitude, right? So the amplitude A equals maximum subtract minimum divided by 2, right? So maximum is 4, minimum is negative 2, right? So it will be 4 minus negative 2 divided by 2. It's going to be 3, right? So they all have 3, right? So the answer choice would be A, B, C, D, right? Now we have the midline, they all 1, right? So we just draw the midline right here. Now we need to find the period. The period is the distance between the initial point and the end point within one cycle, right? So it could be pi over 2, right? So the period is pi over 2. Now we need to solve for b. So b equals 2 pi divided by period, which means pi over 2, right? So we need to simplify this one by multiply the top bottom by 2, because we look at this one, we see 2 here, right? Multiply this one by 2. So it could be 4 pi divided by this guy cancel out. It could be pi. So pi and pi cancel out. It could be 4, right? So b equal 4. We need to eliminate A, B, and D. The answer must be C. Now let's move on to question 53. Question 53 is similar to question 52, right? First, we need to identify the midline, right? They are negative 1, right? So we just draw the midline negative 1 right here. Alright, so D equals negative 1, right? Now the amplitude is absolutely 2, right? So that's correct, right? So they all could be the answer, right? If you see the negative side, it could have the reflection depending on where you start the function, right? So now look at the phase shift. Answer choice A, there is no phase shift, which means you start from here, right? And then you go down, right? So if you go down, there should have the negative sign in front of amplitude A right here. But there is no negative sign right here. Choice A is wrong, right? Now, answer choice B. If you start from pi right here, which means there is a phase shift to the right pi units, right? So you start right here. If you start right here, you go up first, right? If you go up, there shouldn't be a negative sign in front of A, right? But there's a negative sign right here. So this one is wrong, right? Now, if you start from negative pi, right? This one right here, which means you shift pi units to the left, right? Because the plus sign right here. So it's gonna be right here. So you start from here and then you go up first, right? If you go up, there shouldn't be a negative sign in front of A, but there is a negative sign in front of A, so this is wrong, right? Now last one, you start from negative 2 pi, right? Which means there is a phase shift 2 pi to the left, right? So it could be right here. So if you start right here, you need to go down first, right? So if you go down, you should have the negative sign in front of A, negative sign right here. So the answer D is correct. Now let's move on to question 54. Alright, we look at our answer choice right here. We see that the midline is 1, right? So we just draw the midline 1. D equals 1, right? The amplitude is 2, right? It's going to be from the midline to the maximum, right? So 2. So you look at this one, they all have 2, right? And remember that if you have negative sign, it could have the reflection depending on where you start the function, which means the phase shift, right? Answer choice A is cosine function. Cosine function start from the maximum, right? There is no phase shift, and starting from the maximum, there is nothing right here, right? You must start right here, right? So the answer choice A is wrong. Now, answer choice B, this is a sine function, so you can start from the midline, right? But there is a phase shift pi over 2 to the right? So you start right here, right? So if you start right here, you need to go down first, right? So since you go down, you should have the negative sign in front of the amplitude right here. But you don't have it right here, so the answer choice B is wrong, right? Now, answer choice C, there's a phase shift pi unit to the right, which means it's going to be right here, right? But this is a cosine function, so you need to either start from the maximum or minimum, right? Right at pi right here, there is no maximum or minimum, right? Pi right here is at the midline, right? So answer choice C is wrong. Now the last one, D. There's a phase shift 3 pi over 2, right? So you need to start from 3 pi over 2, and this is the sine function. So you need to start from the midline, right? So 3 pi over 2, you need to go down first, right? If you go down, you must have the negative sign in front of amplitude, which is right here, right? So the answer must be D. Now let's move on to question 55. The function f is given by f of s equals negative 3 times sine 2s. Which of the following is the graph of the function f for the interval 0 to 4 pi, right? Now we need to find the period, right? We given b right here equals 2, right? So b equals 2. So the period equals 2 pi divided by b, which means 2 pi divided by 2. So it could be pi, right? Now we need to look for the period, right? The function starts right here and right here. This is one complete cycle, right? So it could be pi. So this could be right? Now let's check this one. The function starts right here and end right here within the cycle. So this is the period, so could be b, right? Now this one right here, the function start right here and end right here to complete one cycle, right? So this is 2 pi, so this is wrong, right? So C incorrect. This one, the function start right here and end right here to complete one full cycle, right? So it could be 4 pi, right? So this one is wrong. Now only A and B could be the answer, right? Look at the amplitude right here. Amplitude is -3 and the function sine 2s right here, there is no phase shift, right? Which means the function start at the origin, right? And at the midline, right? So if the function start right here, it go up first. If it go up, there is no negative sign in front of A, right? So you have negative sign right here, which makes answer choice A wrong, right? Now answer choice B, you start from the midline and you need to go down, right? If you go down, there is a negative sign in front of the amplitude, which is right here, right? So this one makes answer choice B correct. Now question 56. Given the function g of s equals cosine s, right? So g of s equals cosine s. The function h has the same period as the function g. The amplitude of the function h is twice the amplitude of the function g. So the function h of s equals, look at the function g right here, amplitude equal 1. So this guy must be 2, right? So it should be 2 cosine s, right? So then it's going to be 2 cosine s, which means g of s, so it could be g of s, right? So the answer must be B. Now let's move on to question number 57. Question 57 similar to question 55, right? Now we need to rewrite f of s, so f of s equals -2 cosine s plus 1, right? So you can see the midline 1, right? So the first one, the midline 1 right here, right? The second one, the midline 1 right here, right? The third one, midline 1 right here. And the last one, midline is -1, right? This makes answer choice D wrong first, right? Now we need to find the period, right? So the period for the first one is gonna be from here to here, right? So the period is 2 pi, right? Now from here we need to find the period first. The period equal 2 pi divided by b. It could be 2 pi divided by 1, right? Because b equal 1, so it could be 2 pi, right? So this one could be right? Now for this one right here, the period is from here to here, right? It could be 0 to 2 pi right here. So this one could be right. For this one right here, the period is from here to here, right? So 3 pi subtract pi, it could be 2 pi, right? So this could be right? Now next one, look at the amplitudes. The amplitude is absolute value of -2, which is 2, right? So the distance from the maximum to the midline, this one 2, yes. This one 2, right? That's correct. This one 2, that's correct, right? So this good. Now the last one is the -1. Keep in mind the cosine function starts from the maximum. Since you have the negative side right here, there is a reflection, right? So this function should start from the minimum first, right? This one start from the maximum, so this one is wrong, right? This one start from the midline, right? So this one is wrong, right? This one start from the minimum, right? So the answer choice must be C. Question 58. Let h be the function given by h of s equals sine s. The period of the function k is twice the period of the function h. Now look at the function h of s right here. The period of this function is 2 pi, right? And then the period of this function h should be 4 pi, right? The graph of the function k is horizontal translation of h by -pi units, which means you need to shift the function h pi unit to the left, right? Since you have the period of the function k for pi, right? So you need to find b first, right? So b equals 2 pi divided by period, which means 2 pi divided by 4 pi. So it's going to be 1/2, right? So b equals 1/2, you need to eliminate a and b, right? Now, there is a phase shift negative pi units, which means you need to shift pi units to the left, right? So if you shift pi unit to the left, it should be plus pi, right? Now, look at this one right here. You need to choose D because this one is the general form. This is not the general form. Keep in mind, the general form is going to be A times F of B times S minus C. Right here, it should be the factor form, right? Plus D, right? Now, for this one right here, if I need to factor 1/2 out, so it's going to be H of 1/2 of S plus 2 pi. If I write this guy in the general form, that should have a translation 2 pi units to the left, right? Which contradicts this guy, right? So the answer choice C must be wrong. Now let's move on to question 59. Alright, you look at the answer choice right here and compare to the function right here. This is the cosine function. Cosine function always start from the maximum. And if there is negative sign in front of amplitude, the cosine function will start from the minimum, right? So, look at this one right here. We need to draw the midline, right? The midline should be the x-axis, right? Because there is no vertical translation, right? So this guy starts from the midline, which is wrong because this is for the sine function only. This guy starts from the midline, right? So this one is wrong. This guy starts from the maximum, right? We need minimum first, right? Because there is negative sign right here. So this one is wrong. The answer must be B. Now let's move on to question 60. Let f be the function given by fs equals cosine s. The function g is a horizontal translation of the function f by pi over 2 units, right? So which means you shift to the right pi over 2. Now we need to check for the answer choice right here. If you see the plus side right here, which means there is a translation to the left, pi over 2, right? But we need to the right, right? So the answer A is wrong. This one is vertical translation, right? So this one is wrong. Now, this one right here, there is a reflection, right? Because there's negative side right here. But the question right here does not mention the reflection, right? So the answer choice D is wrong. Now, only answer choice C is correct. Why? Because if you graph FOS and GOS on the same x and y coordinate plane, you will see it. Now you have f of s, it's going to be cosine s, right? If you shift this one to the right pi over 2, it's going to be FOS equals cosine s minus pi over 2. Alright? It's going to be this one right here. Now, this one is the same thing as the function g of s equals sine s. Right? This guy and this guy right here overlapping, right? So, which means they are the same thing. Now, let's move on to question 61. The function g is defined by g of s equal a sine b of s plus c plus d for constant a, b, c, and d. In the x and y plane, the points 3, -1, and 7, 3 represent the minimum and maximum value respectively for the function g. What are the values of a and d? Now, amplitude equals maximum subtract minimum divided by 2. Maximum is going to be right here, the y value 3. Subtract minimum is going to be -1. divided by 2. So it could be 2. Eliminate C and D. Now the midline D equals maximum plus minimum divided by 2. So it could be 3 plus negative 1 divided by 2. It could be 1. So the answer must be B. Now let's move on to question 62. Similar to 61, you have minimum point, the maximum point. Alright, the question asks you to find B, right? So first, in order to solve for B, you need to solve for period because B equals 2 pi divided by period, right? So we just get the graph. So keep in mind, the period is the distance of 2s value of the minimum and the maximum multiplied by 2. So it's going to be the distance from here to here right here. Alright, so it's going to be 2 and this guy 4, right? So you take 4, you subtract 2, it's going to be 2 to find the distance right here. And you multiply by 2 to get the period, it's going to be 4, right? So after you have the period, plug it in over here, you have 2 pi divided by 4. So it could be pi over 2. So the answer must be C. Now question 63 is similar to question 62 and 61, right? I'm going to leave this one for you to practice. The answer must be D. Similarly, question 64, the answer must be C. I'm going to leave this one for you to practice. And it's your time to start. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember that if you failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail.
We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun as she puts her hand in mine.